Welcome back to the Movement is Medicine podcast. Dr. Gene Shirakabrad here with,
Dr. Corey Howe.
and
Jim O'Neill.
you're back.
I'm back. Thank you.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So this is 2013, new year. We were away for a little bit for break.
Feels like I've been gone for a long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time for people following the podcast. It's just the next episode. But for us, it's literally been a year
Wow. Yeah, I
been-
haven't talked to this podcast and this audience since last year.
since even number year.
Wow.
Also, chronologically, this episode is going to happen right after we did the last episode with you, because we had a kind of bonus episode in between our Christmas gift episode.
So
But-
they get back to back Jim O'Neill's.
Back to back Jim O'Neill's. It's almost like
Great.
planned this or something. But last episode, Jim, was incredibly well received. And I figured it would, because the topics that we covered are, one, incredibly universal, right? It's
Branding.
nice. Incredibly universal, in terms of mindfulness, in terms of anxiety and stress, getting people under control. So again, understandable that it was so well received, but there's still a lot on the table for us to talk about, and particularly this time frame is pretty important, and relevant for people, because people go into resolution mode, right? A few years ago, we did a funny video, like we were making fun of it, but like we created like a fake PSA video. You ever seen that?
Yeah, you and Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was I thought it'd be funny if we created a fake disease called resolutionitis, an acute inflammation of resolution, which this is, right? Like it's a seasonal change, but our brains work on these
You were talking to Siri.
again.
Yeah.
Damn it.
She's always listening.
She is always listening.
I love technology.
You gotta love Siri. So our brains work on. We need markers. We need yard signs. We need yard markers to help us guide us along. And there's no bigger one than the change of the year, right? Like we have a holiday. We have everyone is off. There's this big New Year's celebration. It's a natural change of pace and recalibration for people.
Because I think it's like, well, I don't want to start something now because Halloween's coming up, and then Thanksgiving, and then Christmas,
Yeah.
or Hanukkah.
You
or-
need another
yeah.
big marker
Yeah.
to kind of motivate yourself.
And then New Year's comes around, and it's like, okay, well, now I have a chunk of time before
Yeah.
summer or whatever.
Yeah.
If we're talking fitness, a lot of times it's summer is the goal. So I think that's why New Year's is a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah, and people go like you said, why start now? I'll just wait another 10 days and start January 1st or January 2nd, right? Like it makes sense logically, but it makes no sense if you actually apply logic to it. So it's another way for us to trick ourselves and to delay the inevitable, because intuitively we know it doesn't matter. Like inside our bodies, our cells don't know the difference between December 21st
Your liver might.
and January. Liver cells might feel the difference. But here's the thing. Here's where I always stand. So we made this funny video, resolutionitis, and we talked about like symptoms of resolutionitis.
Mhm.
The big thing for me, when dealing with resolutions, it's fine to do them as long as you're honest with yourself and set yourself up to actually start and continue. Here's where I think people fall into the resolution trap. It doesn't matter if you start and don't have a plan. If you start and you ride the momentum, that momentum will fade out. Passion without purpose and a plan is a fickle thing, right? It burns bright and hot, but fast as well. So I think having a plan in place and then not just running into it, but executing the plan is one of the only ways to deal with this motivational urge in resolutions. What do you think? How do you approach from a mindset standpoint using this positive momentum and actually making it succeed?
Well, I think goal setting is tricky because a lot of times people shoot for the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So you shoot yourself in the foot right out of the gate.
It's a lot of shooting.
You gotta be careful with that. All right. But when you aim too high,
He's
right?
still
Like
shooting.
Yeah,
He's
still
still shooting.
aiming it.
He's still aiming.
That's okay.
you end up failing, right?
Yep.
And then now you're in this sort of negative reactivity cycle or negative thought pattern again or anxiety where like, okay, this mountain's here and I still can't climb it. Like I'm no good. And then that sort of can get baked into whatever story that you've told yourself about yourself or the thing that you want to change is. And then you become attached to that, right? But now you're
Mhm.
fueling that, or you're creating that instead of something that's more maybe smart and measurable. And like, okay, let's make this let's recalibrate this plan differently and start focusing on the little things that will get me there.
I like that. I like that phrase, reactivity cycle, right? Because if you're in a reactivity cycle, you're always playing catch up. Something has to happen and you respond to it, right? Versus and to me, I think about like programming for us. If we started every week for members going, we're just gonna come up with workouts the day of when we come and coach you guys. That's reactive, right? That's not executing a plan. That's just either going on a whim or listening to people and kind of dealing with what they're dealing with in the moment versus the so much time we spend on programming. There's already a plan in place. Then we put ourselves in a place to succeed because then it's about execution of the plan. When you're in that reactivity cycle, not only is it that you have to come up with the plan in the moment, but you also have to deal with everything in the periphery of that plan. So I mean, it could be working out, which is common for people, but I mean, eating is always a biggie for people this time of year, right? I'm going to start eating better, healthier. I'm going to keep my house cleaner. Like, right? It's all of a sudden this, like you said, this pressure you put on yourself of all of a sudden taking everything that you did not like about the year beforehand and going, I'm going to change all of it all of a sudden. But I think what people are chasing is the feeling, right? How am I going to feel? How do I want to feel if I do these things? And then really asking the question is, what do I have to do to get that feeling to come across? So I mean, chasing a feeling is hard as is, but if you don't have a plan around it, like that seems like you're setting yourself up for
No,
more
it's
stress
fickle,
because
right?
you didn't achieve
Emotions
it.
come and go. It's easy to get derailed if you're not, or if you're. So there's like this quote where we talk about like you can't change your feelings or your emotions from coming. So like they're sort of like waves in the ocean. They're gonna come, they're gonna go. That they're impermanent, which you learn as you
Mhm.
pay attention. But you can choose to serve certain emotions and not engage with others. But that's when you start to find your own autonomy and your own control. That's when you kind of shift out of reactive
Hmm.
or reactivity. It's like a reactivity cycle, sort of pausing with awareness and then shifting into like being mode or like, okay, what do I need to do now? So like you're responding to that versus like, okay, on a whim, like, I'm not going to go to the gym today. I don't feel like it. Okay. Well, if I didn't feel like going to the gym, which is often, I would never go to the gym.
You have no excuse, literally, because
No.
we come get you. But yeah, it's tough. Do you set resolutions? Do you have that urge to put something on the books that you wanted to
Um,
accomplish?
I have not done a lot of resolutions. When I was a kid, we used to. I'm from Michigan, so we called soda pop, not soda pop. It was just pop. So we would get a 2 liter pop, and we got to drink the entire 2 liter on New Year's Eve, and then we would try to go the entire year without drinking soda. I did it
Interesting.
once. I failed every other time.
Drinking the whole thing at once, or
Not
Not drinking it
drinking
again?
pop the rest of the year. Yeah.
I just envision it. Remember that video you sent me of the kid drinking the seltzer water
Yes.
and then
Yes, that's
running
a
into the
funny
garage
video.
door? That's literally what just popped into my head
Yeah.
of you doing that.
There was one year when I don't think I had a specific resolution. I just knew that I was going to start working out again. And it worked out. But I wouldn't say I had a big plan. It was just this is what's going to happen now.
Hmm.
And I suddenly had a lot of free time to be able to do that, and made it work.
Hmm.
But
What about you?
It's funny you said that, man. So my son Will was like, "I'm giving up soda." I'm like,
yeah.
he's like, "What are you doing?" So I was like, "Man, you're
Yes.
giving up soda?"
Yes,
Like,
that.
I'll give up Diet Coke too.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna roll with for now.
Good.
Is
Till
that
next
realistic,
week.
though?
What's that?
Is that realistic?
You know, it might be because I'm starting to learn more about metabolic health and that kind of stuff, and from what I've been kind of hearing, that might not be a great choice. So
Yeah. It's interesting to hear people's resolutions, but also like when people come in here for the first time, the first thing they typically tell us is what they don't want. Or a loss of something, meaning that I don't want to hurt. I don't want to get injured. I don't want something, instead of saying, here's what I want. Right. So the follow up question I always ask them is, what will happen? What are you going to achieve if that doesn't happen? What are you actually after? Not the byproduct that gets you there. And I feel like you saying that, like, I'm not going to drink sodas, like, what are you after? What does that achieve? And I feel like most people don't ask that follow up question is, why are you setting that resolution? What are you truly after? And is there a better way to achieve that? Right? What is the actual goal? So, not drinking soda, I feel like sometimes you take something away from yourself. Um, and it's like, are you trying to get somewhere, or are you trying to kind of punish yourself out of it?
well, to answer that, like the reason I've been paying more attention to metabolic health because there's a new book um, by a guy named, I think it's Chris Palmer, psychiatrist out of Harvard, but it's just talking about how metabolic health is tied to mental health
Hmm.
and stress. And he's like a proponent of mindfulness and stress reduction, and there's a lot of good things with that, but it's not for everybody. But just so I have not made that connect. Well, I mean, like like nutrition has something to do with it, but
Sure.
just like tying that into like, okay, there's actually a specific purpose to that. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. Is like, okay, what would happen? What would be the benefit of that versus taking something away? Because usually when you do that, you take something away, like you end up finding something else to replace it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, that's fascinating. The gut microbiome has been called the second brain because it affects so much of you based on what you eat there, and how much you change it. So that's another piece of it, right? Is if you make a big change, like if you go from being sedentary to all of a sudden working out nonstop or trying to run a marathon, positive intention ends up with negative consequences. The stomach's very similar, right? If you go full keto or
Yeah, go from being
carnivore or whatever.
carnivore to full vegan or something. I
Yeah.
don't know the health implications on it, but
Yeah.
it could affect
It's a
things like
drastic
the yeah,
change
yeah.
that impacts the body. But it's just interesting to see how people motivate themselves consistently.
And you brought up pain. You know, we talk about like people wanting to have be happy or to find joy in their life. A lot of people are just they want to avoid pain,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and that's a big thing. But that's also like the catch 22, right? Because if you have pain, like like I was just experiencing, like you can't stop moving.
Yeah.
Like rheumatoid arthritis and those types of things. Like you have to move. Like if you stop moving, then you're going to decline much quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So you have
true.
to learn to work with pain. And I think learning how to do that, with mindfulness is sort of like inhabiting your body and being able to like tune into that. And that's a big thing is tuning into pain versus like, I don't want to feel that. Because then you can really do some damage and kind of get into some problems.
Yeah. I think pain is a powerful motivator. I know that sounds really bad,
Yeah,
but
it's true.
the fear of pain is a powerful motivator, or demotivator, depending on how you want to look at it. People will do a tremendous amount, put a tremendous amount of effort in to not feel pain. And if that means they do nothing, essentially, because it feels better to them to sit on the couch than it does to go to the gym or walk on a treadmill or walk outside. That's easier to them, but detrimental in the long run.
Yeah. People will do what feels right in the moment, but they don't often, again, extrapolate how to sustain it. Just like we tell people in the gym that typically humans are very, very bad at extrapolating out and thinking in total volume, right? We tell you that, yes, you're doing 10 rounds of 6 push-ups, but that means you're doing 60 push-ups. Like, you can't think about the chunks of 6. You have to think about the 60.
There was a guy just today, in today's long day. This member said, Gene we just talked about how I tend to grab too heavy of weight and not understanding that there's 6 rounds of this stuff. So he said, so I'm going to go lighter today. Kudos to him. He went lighter. I still wanted him to go a little bit lighter because a couple rounds in, I said, "You want me to grab a different bar?" He said, "Yes, please."
I like that. I like that. But that's a process of
Yeah,
understanding.
he's comprehending what's happening and making those changes to help promote him or set him up for success, which is good to see.
Yeah. I'm curious. So, resolutions. If you're watching or listening, do you get caught up in resolutions? Do you feel like it's enticing? So let us know. Leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube, or shoot us a message at hey@rechargexfit.com. Finish out with, Jim, if you're counseling somebody and they're dealing with stress and anxiety, and it's the turn of the year, how do you approach the situation? Do you give them strategies? Do you guide them through resolutions? Do you say go ahead and make some and then let's hold you accountable to them? Like, what are some approaches? I'm sure it matters on the person, but how would you deal with somebody that's like, should I make a resolution?
It's funny. It's not something that really comes up. I think in general, though, whenever someone has a goal, I try to have them make it realistic.
Yeah.
If it's realistic, and then just focus on the progress, like, I don't know, whatever, like show up to the gym 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Start there, or just, what, it's been a while, just go tomorrow, but be firm, like have a non-negotiable agreement with yourself, right? Because we all tell ourselves lies.
Yeah.
We manipulate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, well, I'll go the next day. No, go tomorrow. I'm going to go tomorrow, and I'm not going to give myself any excuses. I'm going to get there. And maybe I do go through pain, right? But there's good pain too, right? Like,
Sure.
And
pain is beneficial in almost all aspects.
And then really soaking in, like after the fact, like I know that when I go back after a layoff, like it's going to be a little bit more challenging, but I'm also going to feel good. And then you've also built community here too. So like I'm going to see some friendly faces. It's encouraging, it's supportive, and that's a big part of it too. So that's a big key to well-being.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the things I try to kind of push on people is like to find community wherever it is, and make those connections too. And if you could do it while you're working out, and like
kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
Again, we're killing things. Shooting.
Jim was just shooting. I shoot to kill, apparently.
With stones.
Yeah, with stones.
Shooting with love, man.
Yeah, shooting with love.
Nothing but compassion for you guys.
He's going Cupid style. You're going medieval caveman. Bash with a rock. All right. Well, I think the resolution piece, I think, is important. Whatever gets you going is important, right? But it's not how to start. Oftentimes, it's how do you maintain and keep going. That's the big question and the big challenge. So I hope that if the new year and you're doing resolutions, that you have a system around that resolution to make it happen and achieve it, make it sustainable, and make it something that you can actually achieve through accountability and, like you said, realistic goal setting.
So like a loving kindness thing might be like, may I be free from fear? And then asking yourself that question, like, if I had no fear, like, what would I do? Like, what would I want to accomplish? And then going that route.
It's a good place to start. I think it's a good first question to ask. So let us know. Let us know if you're going to be making some resolutions, what those are. If you're following along on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Let us know you're enjoying it. If you're looking behind Jim there, the PS5 is still there. So all you have to do is subscribe to get entered to have a chance to win that PS5. We'll make sure Jim doesn't steal it after this podcast either.
Be quick.
We know where you work.
That's true. That's true.
Gotta be careful with you guys.
Yeah, we did
Lose
steal
my
a share
chair.
from him
Yes, we did.
when you first moved in. All right, we'll catch you again on the next
Allegedly.
episode of the Movement is Medicine podcast from Recharge.